So next, I would like to welcome back our moderator, Kashif Siddiqui, who will be in conversation with a talented professional footballer who is very passionate about the issue of racial abuse and a huge advocate for anti-racism. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Swansea City star and former England under-17 international, Jan Dhanda.
Jan, really nice to meet you again. It's been a long time, mate.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I was really excited to do this when I had the opportunity.
So can you tell me a bit of the experience on how you've seen from a football perspective how racism has affected you throughout your life?
I've spoke quite a few times about the racism I had growing up and people stereotyping not just me but my Asian friends to certain jobs and specific jobs just because of where we come from was wrong. It did upset me at times growing up, but your family that just said to me that if you work hard and you're good enough, then you'll make it regardless of what anyone says, and that's always what I've stuck by.
What is it that makes people racist? What do you think it is that's driving them to this?
They haven't been educated properly, they're ignorant, and really and truly they're just full of hate and jealous of people doing better than them and maybe living a life they wish they lived.
You mentioned the word education because, for example, when I join another club, there's that cultural difference, and it's not necessarily that they want to be negative, it's they just don't know me, they don't know us, they don't know your culture. And get them to understand us better, and I guess that's part of the process on education, isn't it?
Some people are harmless and they might say stuff they actually didn't know or not aware of, like the lads might ask you to go to the pub but obviously you don't drink or stuff like that. I think that's obviously the education, but I think that's harmless and they don't mean anything by it. But when people are going out their way to be malicious in what they say and directly racist just because of the colour of your skin or calling you certain names that you can't sugarcoat it, it is what it is. And at Swansea, all my teammates, they're so supportive, and when I actually got racially abused not too long ago, I had so much support from them, and they was so angry with what happened and saying that it shouldn't be happening now. I think it is slowly starting to change, but until people keep speaking up and actually saying the truth and not letting it happen and not just brushing it under the carpet, then it has to change.
What do you think we can do to create a more diverse, inclusive, just and equal society and world generally?
I think it's people's views have to be different. Like we said, they have to be educated from a young age that everybody's human, regardless of skin colour, regardless of where they come from or their parents come from or what religion they follow. At the end of the day, everyone's human, everyone has feelings, everyone has a heart. The other big thing I think is, like it is going on in the world, it shouldn't be, but it is. And I think until people speak up and be proud of where they're from and call out these racists, then nothing is going to change. And I'm just glad now that people are standing up for what's right and trying their best to actually make a change.
You mentioned all the players and the lads supporting you, that unity is the way forward, and I think when you're together you're stronger, and I think that's a key part. And so I guess us building a more inclusive society means all of us come together for it.
So I think everyone, well especially at Swansea, has accepted the fact that we're all from different places in the world, we've all got different religions and heritages, and parents are from different places, but the bottom line is we're all there because we deserve to be there.
Football's contribution to this solution can be so much more. So what do you think the role that football can really play on a much wider perspective on education, on society, on racism?
I think a much bigger part than people actually think. It brings people together, it starts conversations all around the world regardless of where you're from, and I think it can a massive part in racism. And if all footballers, football teams, everyone who loves football are coming together to actually make a change and actually try and kick racism out of not just sport but in everyday life. I think football plays a big part in it.
Is exactly why you and I are here today talking about this, because we're bringing football's contribution to talk about a huge issue that's been ongoing for many years. Is that how important it is for all people, fans, authorities, role models like yourself, etc., to come together to have a contribution to this?
People have to actually stand up for what's right, and I'm just glad now I'm in a position to actually speak up for people all around the world. Racism is happening in sport, it's happening in football as we're seeing, but the bigger picture is it's happening in everyday life. I feel like I'm in a position where I'm getting asked the questions, and for me to just push it under the carpet is wrong.
And to be fair, Jan, I think you started the ripple effect. All of these things start with a ripple. What advice would you give to young people that are watching this interview, that have watched you or others, on what they would do when faced with racism and what they can do to be part of a solution?
With me experiencing it not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, I think I was upset and I was angry, and I think that it's okay. It's actually okay to actually feel those things. I think when you're proud of where you're from and who your family are and who you are as a person, I think it's okay to be angry and upset initially. But I think after that, you're not really going to get too much out of being angry for too long or upset for too long. So I think it's just about channeling it. The way I channeled it was speaking with my family, which immediately made me feel a lot better, and then almost using this person's hate as fuel to push me on to get to where I need to get to. It's easier said than done, and people will always say this, but I think this is the only positive way to deal with it.
Talking to you today, I've learned something as well, that when you deal with a situation like that, the first thing that you're trying to deal with is either I'm going to react to it, but you're basically saying is that don't react, and it's okay for us to be upset. It's okay for us to take some time and take those feelings on. And I guess that helps you deal with mental health as well. There's a lot of work to be done, clearly, and I'm personally looking forward to go on the journey with you, and we can do a lot together. So thank you again.
I enjoyed it. The questions were good, and I'm glad things are starting to change and people are actually starting to speak up. So I'm quite passionate about it, and until people start addressing it and standing up for what's right, then I can't expect anything to change.